Hi, it's Hillary here with Lazy Llama DIY. Today, since I'm making a cake, I thought I'd film it and see what happens. I'm making a cake from a game night. It is a buttermilk spice cake that I found on Pinterest, and the website that it comes from is A Splash of Vanilla. I have never made this cake before. It didn't occur to me until one day I was making something for, I don't know, a potluck or something, and my mom was like, "You're gonna make something to take that you've never made before?" And I was like, isn't that what everybody kind of does? But apparently it is not. So we have game night tonight. I play Dungeons and Dragons, which I'll talk to you a little bit about more later on. But I just started playing in, it must have been around November of last year, maybe September. And it started off really slow because we were learning the game, but it's gotten really fun. So I've got everything all stepped out here, just like I'm on the cooking channel. So we're gonna start with our cake. Like I said, it's the buttermilk spice cake. I've already made some substitutions because this is an English recipe. However, you know, I didn't have to like weigh anything, so she gave me, what is it, imperial measurements? I don't know what it's called. But anyway, everything is at room temperature. My eggs, my butter, everything is good to go. This cake calls for 1.25 cups of buttermilk, which I had from Cupcakes last week. And they never give you like a little bit of buttermilk. You got to get the quart. It's usually the smallest you can find, except around the holidays when you were doing more baking and you could probably use a quart faster than during the rest of the year, but whatever. And I've got my oven. It just heated up to 356 because she gave me 180 Celsius, and because I can be pretty precise with my oven, I just went ahead and hit it to 356. If you have just, you know, the knobs, you can just do 350. That's pretty much what everything is baked at, isn't it? I have a springform pan, oiled. Did she say, whoa, okay, we're gonna hope that works. We're just gonna press that down. I'm having a problem with this springform pan. It does not want to stay in the grooves, but thanks Wolfgang Puck for your fine springform pan product. This is, what does she say, 20 centimeters by 6 centimeters. It doesn't give me measurements, so we're just gonna go with whatever. So you ready to get started? Let's do it. Okay, so our first ingredients are that we're gonna do is our dry ingredients, and we're gonna sift them. So this is 2.5 cups of cake flour, and I just use a thing here. I've already put here, this is a teaspoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of mixed spice. I don't know what that is, but I looked at my pumpkin pie spice thing and I was like, it already has cinnamon and nutmeg. So, oh, did I put the nutmeg in? Yes, I did. It already has cinnamon and nutmeg, and so the 2 things that were on the pumpkin pie spice, which is my only mixed spice, were I think lemon peel and cardamom and I think allspice. So I did probably about 3/4 teaspoon of cardamom and about 1/4 teaspoon of allspice. It's a spice cake. That's spice. It also has 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of ginger, and 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. If you didn't already know this about me, nutmeg's my favorite spice. So I'm like, ooh, 1/4 teaspoon? Is that it? But that is what I put because I have heard that some people find nutmeg overpowering. But we're gonna sift all of our ingredients together. And the reason I do that, I don't normally sift things, but the reason I'm doing it now is twofold. One is because it's cake flour, so cake flour is a little lighter than regular, you know, AP flour. And, I have both soda and powder in here. And, you know, when I was a kid and I'd do baking, I'd end up with that like clump of something in the brownie that was all bitter tasting because I didn't make sure everything was properly sifted. So that is why we're doing that here. And let's tilt the camera down so you can see. Got a not so beautiful mise en place going down here, but you'll see. So we're just sifting that out into. Okay, we're coming up on the end here, and I usually just press the last bits because there's usually a good bit of spice in there. Okay, so we're going to set that aside. So we had a little fun bit with the recipe again. Now that we're on to creaming our butter and sugar together, it says that I should use a half a cup of light brown sugar, firmly packed, and 1 cup of raw sugar. The only thing I can think of are those little packets you get at Starbucks. I mean, you can get it by bulk, but it's like, I don't know, a lot of money. And what I use anyway is organic sugar. Here's what it looks like. It's not pure white. And I found that I switched to cage-free eggs and not raw sugar, but organic sugar. And sometimes I'll use the fancy, baking butter that everybody always talks about on TV, but it can be really expensive. At the holidays, I use it, and it really does make a difference in your baked goods. We're just going to cream this together with my mixer. Normally, I would do this in my stand mixer, but today, because you're special, we're gonna just do this in my grandmother's baking bowl. So let's get started with that. So one thing I've learned about creaming the butter and the sugar together, I used to just cream it together till it came together. And I was reading a book by Dory Greenspan, one of her cookbooks, and she basically says, when you cream the butter and sugar together, really go at it. Like 3 to 5 minutes. It says 3 to 5 minutes or until light and fluffy. And it used to be that I would think like this was pretty much creamed. I would just try to incorporate, the sugars and the butter together. But it's you'll see. I have the towel underneath to give me a little stability. But this is my grandmother's bowl. I also have my great grandmother's bowl. That I usually make bread in. I'm always scared to death that I'm just going to drop it, and that's going to be the end of, whatever. Because I believe my grandmother got this when she got married, and that was in 1939. And God only knows when her mother got the bowl that I use for my bread. But I'm always terrified that, it's going to break, and after all these, decades. But you got to use it. You can't just, that's what these things were meant for. They were meant to be used. And you can't just, put it on the shelf and idolize it from afar. Okay, so here's what we have now. It's still kind of clumpy, but it's holding together. So we're just going to take our spoon here. Bang it all in the center and continue mixing. Okay, so I think that's good. Yeah, it's definitely showing. And it says I need to add my eggs one at a time. And these are 2 large eggs at room temperature. I said, like, back when I started my channel, I said, I really want to learn how to do things the proper way. And I used to think that this made no difference, making sure the eggs were at room temperature or when you added them, because sometimes I would forget and I'd stir in the flour and then I'm like, oh, I forgot to add in the second egg. It really does make a difference. So a lot of you are out there going, duh. Well, the results usually end up looking, you know, how the picture looks on the internet when I actually follow the directions. Huh. Okay, so that's one egg nicely incorporated. And there's the second. I used to be able to, when I was a kid, oddly enough, I used to be able to crack those eggs with one hand. Lost skills. We didn't even have the cooking channel back then. I don't know how I learned to do that. Did Julia Child crack her eggs with one hand? I don't think she did. I don't know how I learned to do it, but I did. Okay, so I've got my eggs in until just combined, and so that's good. And I want to scrape down the bowl, and now I'm going to add my sifted dry ingredients, alternating with the buttermilk and ending with the flour mixture. Here's my flour mixture, and we're going to have my buttermilk on the left, and we're just going to add a nice big scoop of flour. I just get most of the flour incorporated, and then I'm going to start to add my buttermilk. Just a bit at a time. To be honest, I hate when I have to make cakes this way. I would just rather dump everything in. I did not read ahead. This might have been a point of contention with me, and I might have structured this better if I had read that far ahead. On low speed until just combined. Well, I'm not going to do that because that would just mean I was going to overbeat it, as is my way. So about Dungeons and Dragons. Like I said, we started playing last year, and I had, of course, heard of it and had never even been in the slightest bit interested, and knew virtually nothing about it, even though I had friends who played and who talked about it. It just seemed way convoluted and confusing, and it sort of is. What it's basically about is you have a character that you have developed, and you can have, they give you guidelines. So you can choose between like an elf or a druid or a wizard or, you know, a tiefling or an ogre or troll or, you know, what have you. And then you get to choose skills that your character has, and you get to choose a personality. And your personality is how your character is what drives your character in the game. So my character is a rogue elf, and a little bit of a thief, and she's only really concerned about herself. She has a backstory, which nobody in my group knows yet, because she is looking for something. So when we go out on our adventures, I'm usually on the lookout trying to find my precious object. But if I, you know, come across some gold or other things that have value along the way, more's the better. My character is what is called chaotic neutral, which means I am not really vested in the outcome of the group so much. I'm more vested in myself, and sometimes I will just throw a monkey wrench into the plans just because I can. And that's what makes the game fun for me. So you have your character. I'm supposed to end with a flower. Yes. So you have your character, and your dungeon master or DM has chosen what your adventure is going to be, and you have your other players who have their characters. So let's say your dungeon master has chosen, this town, whatever, and maybe your quest is to I think our first quest was to find some dragons, or to lock away some dragons or something that were terrorizing the town. So your quest is to, you have an assignment that you're supposed to fulfill, and that's the last of our buttermilk. You have a quest that you're supposed to fulfill. Ours was to find the dragons, and I think save the townspeople or something. And we negotiated what would be our reward with the person who asked us. And somehow, all your characters meet up, in the tavern or something, and you go on your quest. As your DM decides that actions happen to you. You go down an alleyway and you see a shadowed figure, blah, blah, blah. You get to roll your dice, and your dice tells you, I know I'm screwing this up, and there's probably like people that play and they're just like hollering right now. Go to your happy place. As you play, or as you roll your dice, it determines how successful your action is. So if you see the dark and shadowy figure and you decide you want to talk to it, you say, I'm going to approach the shadowy figure and check and see, because maybe he's not scary, maybe he's friendly, and your DM will ask you to roll, and you'll roll, and you can use some of your skills could be, magical, so you can use a spell, or you can use, a weapon, or you have, if you are, persuasive, you have different scores on different types of things like wisdom, intelligence, persuasion. So let's say you're a persuasive elf, and you go and talk to this person, and you use your persuasion, and that helps bump up your roll score from your dice, and and then your DM will tell you, the guy turns around and it's another elf, and he's injured, and so you pick up other characters, you lose characters can die, and it's just basically a very cool way of storytelling that it's different every time, it's different every player, different players play differently, and so I've really been enjoying it. I was really trying very hard in the beginning to figure out everything. And there's so much to figure out that I really wasn't enjoying it, because I was like, which dice do I roll for this? Which one do I do for that? What does this mean? I have, intelligence and wisdom. What does that mean? And, it was, I was just feeling sort of befuddled by the whole thing. So once I just sort of embraced the chaotic neutral of my elf character, it got a lot more fun. Okay, so that's a little bit about D&D. We're ready to pour our mix into our springform pan, and I use the spray oil on here, and I'm not liking that. I don't ever use it. Generally, what I use is, when you soften the butter and you have this left over, I just take that, and that's generally what I use. And if I have something where I have like two sticks of butter, I just take these, fold them, and put them in a Ziploc bag in the refrigerator and keep them in the butter drawer. So just in case I need one, they're there. I don't know who taught me that. I think one of my friend's mothers did that, and I started doing it. It's funny how when you bake with other people, how especially as a child, how different things get incorporated into your regular habits. We forgot one important step. We forgot to mix in the vanilla. Darn it, I do this all the time. I forget the vanilla. Vanilla is like my favorite thing too. So we're going to put in 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Actually, we're going to put in a mixture of, this is where I'm going rogue, a mixture of vanilla and rum extracts. Oh gosh, that smells good. I made cupcakes last week and they were, I wanted them to be bourbon flavored, but I was taking them for people I didn't know extraordinarily well. And so, you know, I'm always like concerned whether like somebody is, you know, AA or something. And so I did some with bourbon and some without. And then I did the chocolate cupcakes without. All the cupcake base, the cake part was without the bourbon. And then on some of them, I just took a little bit of bourbon and a brush and brushed it onto half of the cupcakes so that half of the cupcakes could be with bourbon and half of them were not. And then I incorporated a little bourbon into the frosting, which I did not think about ahead of time because I had to take these 20 minutes away and it was like 95 degrees and I did not think of how buttercream frosting would travel. This is my preferred cake method. I just like one layer, easy cakes. I think cake should be simple. Unless you're, I don't know, just for everyday, like, you know, family or you know, meeting, they should just be simple. Don't stress yourself out over, you know, making a layer cake and getting your crumb coat or whatever all that mess is. Just make one simple cake and throw a glaze on it and you're good. Okay. One thing I forgot to tell you is that usually when I make cakes or cookies or anything that has sugar in it, I usually take out about a teaspoon to a tablespoon of sugar, and it hasn't made a difference, you know, in the taste or the bake. Makes me feel better. Now, this thing I'm doing next is something my grandmother told me, and I'm hoping it'll work because the springform pan is funky. I'm just dropping it on the counter. It's a heavy, dense cake. Yeah, okay. So it's all good. And now we're going to put it in the oven for 40 to 45 minutes. So while our cake is in the oven, we're just going to make our maple drizzle. And we're going to use a half cup of powdered sugar, or confectioner's sugar, or as it says in my recipe here, icing sugar. And then we have 3 to 4 tablespoons of maple syrup. If I was a rich person, I would probably have grade A for my pancakes and French toast and grade B for baking. So I think it's a little richer. What did I say? 3 to 4 tablespoons? Okay. But I am not a rich person, so we're just using our regular, everyday, grade A maple syrup. And it's maple syrup and sugar. So I don't think I'm going to go for 4 right off the bat. We're going to try it with 3 tablespoons. I think we're going to add just a skosh of rum to this as well. If you've ever made, like, tried to make a glaze before and you know, it's come out lumpy. I've done that so many times. The key is just keep stirring. And we're just going to add the tiniest little bit of rum flavoring. I was watching, I don't know, one of the baking shows on Food Network, and they were really giving people a hard time for using almond extract. I love almond extract. And they're like, oh, I thought I had the camera down. Whoops. Okay. So we mixed our powdered sugar and 3 tablespoons of maple syrup and a little bit of rum flavoring, just to, because we put it in the cake, so I kind of want it in the glaze as well. And as I said, if you've made a glaze before and it's come out lumpy with the little lumps of powdered sugar, just keep stirring. And you want it to just kind of pour off your spoon there. So we're going to set that aside and wait for our cake to get baked, and then we will put it all together. Okay, so our cake is done, and one of the ways we know is we used a toothpick. It came out clean, but also see here, it just springs back, so we know it's done. And we're just going to let it cool for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to try to see if it wrestles out of the springform pan. Good. Okay, so our cake is sort of cooled, and it's still, is it hot? Too hot? It's still on the base, but you can see that's a nice looking cake. So what I want to do to try to get it off the base, we're going to try something new. I'm going to use dental floss, wax dental floss, to try to pull it out. I was going to try to use my offset spatula, but that has never really worked for me in the past. So let's try this method. And while this was cooling and baking, I was watching Stranger Things and trying to be very good about not binging the whole thing. So this is episode 2. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just lining the dental floss up with the edge of the pan, and then trying to pull it toward me. Oh, that's really funny because I don't actually need that because it's already coming away from the pan. So we're just gonna flip and lift, trying to make things harder than they needed to be. Oh, that's cool. I don't know if you can see it, but there's the Wolfgang Puck logo in the cake. That's funny. Especially since I had such problems with the pan. When I went to undo it, it basically was like like a rifle shot. It just I touched the latch and it just went boom. So good thing the cake was done. So let's just flip that over, and we're gonna let that cool some more. Okay, so our cake is cool enough. It's still a little warm, but it's cool enough that we can ice it. This has been sitting for a while, so we're just gonna give it a good stir. Make sure it's still nice and liquidy. That's what you want on a cake. And let's tilt down so you can see. Oh gosh, this glaze smells so good. I'm glad I put that little bit of rum in it. Oops. And we're just gonna start drizzling over our cake. I usually like a lot of icing. I like each bite to have a piece, but I don't necessarily, need a big glob of frosting. So that's also another reason why these kind of cakes are my favorite. Okay, so how does that look? I think it looks scrumptious. I got these plates at Target. I have a bunch of them. I don't know where they are, but they're 79 cents. They're just little plastic plates. You can, I don't even know, can you put, oh, they are microwave safe. Microwave safe, dishwasher safe, BPA free. They're like 79 cents. And I just get like 5 or 6 of them. And whenever I take a cake to somebody, I just plop it on here, because if they get it back to you, yay. And if they don't, it's 79 cents. You can go and buy some more. So we're just going to shift our cake onto here, and then we're going to pack it up, and then we're going to D&D, and hopefully we will get some gold. So thank you so much for watching my video and baking a cake with me. Wish I could tell you how it tasted, but I won't know until I get to D&D tonight. Please go ahead and like this video, comment below if you would like to see more baking videos. I've been baking quite a bit this summer, so if you would like more videos on that, go ahead and comment below, and I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel, so that way you would be notified whenever the random day is that I have a new video out. Okay, thank you so much, and toodles.
Ooh, baby, I like it. You're so excited. Don't try to hide it.